Israel says it has no plans to end its military offensive in Gaza just over 2 months after the Hamas ground attack on October 7th. Palestinian health officials say the death toll in Gaza has surpassed 18,000. They say about 2/3 of those who have died were women and children. The United Nations Secretary General warns a humanitarian catastrophe is unfolding.
The healthcare system is collapsing. Expect public order to completely break down soon. The situation is fast deteriorating into a catastrophe with potentially irreversible implications for Palestinians as a whole and for peace and security in the region.
Patrick Hamilton is with us to discuss humanitarian aid for Gaza. He's the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross's delegation for the United States and Canada. Patrick, you mentioned when we were discussing the hostages are a part of this awful situation. What does the Red Cross know about the current status of those hostages that are still being held?
Thanks, John. Indeed, you're grateful for the opportunity to talk. And indeed, the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, has from the word go on October 7th been seeking access to those hostages, and that continues to be the case that for those that are still held. And we're very concerned, of course, about their fate today, over 2 months into this situation. And for all that we have been able to facilitate the release of those 109 hostages thus far, of course, more than 2 months in, we remain extremely concerned about the lack of access that we have, the fact that they are still indeed captive, and ever deepeningly concerned about the conditions that they may be held in. And so we are calling once again for their immediate and an unconditional release, but also demanding the access that we believe we need and should have to be able to assess their conditions and to be able to offer them help. So that's where we're at today.
Let me ask you about the civilians in Gaza, Patrick. Give me an understanding of how difficult it was to deliver aid to those civilians in Gaza, and then how much more difficult, if it has become more difficult, to deliver aid now that Israeli forces are operating in the south, which was originally where Palestinians were told to flee from action in the north. Has it become that much more difficult to get relief to those citizens?
Yes, John. I mean, before October 7th, there were between 500 and 600 trucks that were entering Gaza on any given day on average. And over the course of the last 2 months since the attacks of October 7th, we've been able to get 37 trucks of aid into Gaza. And that at a moment where across those couple of months, we've seen hundreds of thousands of people displacing from northern Gaza into southern Gaza, and now people being displaced yet again within southern Gaza, with really no place safe today in Gaza at all. So the dimensions of this in terms of the humanitarian consequences of the military operations are clearly enormous, and yet the ability to provide aid, both to bring aid in and then to be able to deliver it, are almost impossible today.
Patrick Hamilton with the International Committee of the Red Cross. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, John.